Sir, let's not chew on this for 1 second. We have a puppy dog today. Porpy, can you come over here? Hi. This is chaos already. I'm so sorry. Hello and welcome back to my channel and welcome to another episode of Booktube Bestie. Today we're doing Yóhan from Library of Viking's Best and Worst Reads of 2022. Yóhan is someone that I followed on Instagram like crazy. I loved his reviews, and when he made a YouTube channel, I was so excited. And I feel like we talked quite early on, and I always appreciate his easy friendship. Like when we talk, it always feels very easy to talk to him and to ask him for advice or do anything like that. And it can feel so lonely. So it's always nice when there are creators who are willing to just share their love and their knowledge with you of this platform. And yeah, so if you don't follow Yóhan, you should. He gave me some scary books. Some scary books. He picked for me for his best of the year. He did give me a list, but for his best of the year, we picked Legends Lattes by Travis Beldry. I mean, originally indie. If you don't know, Yóhan does read indie as well, but he does read a lot more traditionally published, and he does a lot more like fast-paced videos, where on my channel you get these sit-down, very just like slow vlog style things. On his, you're gonna see those like fast-paced informative videos, the tier lists and all of that, with very different styles of YouTube, but I thoroughly love both sides and I think that you will too, so you should check out his channel. Anyways, Legends Lattes, I know not a lot about. I know it's cozy fantasy, small stakes. We have two characters. They're starting a coffee shop. Love my coffee, so I do like that part, and I'm scared of whether I'm gonna like it because I feel like cozy fantasy is not normally my go-to, so we will see how I feel. And then for his worst of the year, he gave me a book that I know nothing about, the Collarbound. I literally, going into the story, know zero. I have no expectations. I saw this book around, and I know Yóhan and Becca from Becca and the Books have read it, but like I've heard no one else talk about this book, and I'm pretty sure it wasn't like the Goldsboro subscription. I think it's something about the title and the cover just doesn't really work for me, but like don't judge a book by its cover, even though we all do. So I'm excited to try it and see how I feel about that one. So many of my vlog updates in the series have come from this spot. It's like my new reading spot. It's just like on my couch. Sorry that you're always seeing the exact same spot. Anyways, I have my coffee because I'm reading Legends Lattes. I don't know how I'm gonna feel about this one. I am 60 pages in, and I have laughed, which is always a good sign, but I've also been bored at some points, which is not a good sign. I'm intrigued by the thing that most people probably aren't intrigued about, the like bad guy. I feel like I'm not supposed to like the bad guy. I don't care what they're setting up at the coffee shop. So we will see. I've had a cozy work for me in the past, so I'm hoping this one will work for me too. Also, I don't know why, I always thought the pink girl was like the main character, but it's the green girl who is. Also, I'm obsessed the term bean water for coffee. It's absolutely hilarious. I'm gonna start calling it my bean water order from Starbucks. I'm on page 184, so I've made like a really good dent in it. And I can't lie, I'm finding it way too monotonous for my own liking. I wish there was some other driving factor. I think part of the thing I liked about Small Miracles was we had these other things that happened. We had relationships unfolding in it that kept my interest. I think for me to like a cozy fantasy, there still has to be some semblance of things happening, and maybe there is. I guess like they're opening up a coffee shop, they're getting more people in, and it's like day to day, but I think maybe it's just a little too slice of life for me, and I wish it kind of focused more on the relationships. I think if we had a romantic relationship, really, I think there is technically one, but like one that we really saw and focused on brewing, I would have liked this more than I am. I definitely see why a lot of people like it. I think specifically if you love epic fantasy, but like you're always looking for something to read in between, this could be a good story in terms of that. For me, I read other genres in between, so I feel like I don't need them, but I see why this would be like a breath of fresh air in between like those long epic fantasies. Yeah. I still have about 100 pages to go, so I'm excited to see if it piques my interest a little bit more because we are getting to like the climax of the story. Yeah. I'm not hating it though. I finished Legends Lattes, and I did actually enjoy this story a lot more than I thought I would. I constantly say I'm not a cozy fantasy kind of gal, and I do still stick to that. There are some cozy fantasies that have worked for me, although I don't know if Small Miracles is actually cozy, if it's not just like soft fantasy, but I do like some sort of stakes still in my fantasy book. I did enjoy enough of this to not hate it, but for me, I still wanted there to be more plot. I wanted there to be more stakes. I didn't want things to be resolved so quickly. Like when the resolution comes for the payment she's supposed to make, that really irked me because it was just like so simple and I wasn't a big fan of that, but like that's kind of the point of this story. So I ended up giving this one a 3 stars, which is better than I thought I'd give it when people told me to read it. But yeah, I do get why people love this story, and I get that like it's so cozy and it's so like feel good, and it's really a story about friendship and just like the meaning of friendship and what it is to have friends and to not be alone in life. And it's really feel good and wholesome, which is not my kind of story. And I think that if you are an epic dark fantasy reader who doesn't read outside of the epic fantasy genre, this would be such a breath of fresh air to pick up between fantasies. But I just pick up different genres during that. I'll pick up a romance, I'll pick up a horror, I'll pick up a thriller. I will just read elsewhere to get something that's less brain power for me. But I do think this is like a beautiful book in terms of that, and I see why so many people loved it. Personally, I didn't think that the characters had enough depth for me. Like the story was just, I think this is it. Like I want there to be hard moments for my characters, because I think you really see a person in those hard moments. And because we don't get those in a story like this, I just can't connect to characters as much. But that's a me thing, not necessarily a story thing, because this is what so many people are looking for. And I would highly recommend this, and I will be recommending it to people who want something like this, but it just wasn't really for me, which is a +2 for Library of a Viking. So okay, so this magic system is really cool. I'm really in love with it at this point. So far, I have still a lot of questions about it, but I'm so intrigued to learn more. So far, I know it happens like within the mind, and people do these things called mind dueling, and you go inside someone's mind and you kind of just like make them imagine things and feel things. Like you'll feel like you're being stabbed by a sword, but technically it's like a projection into your mind. And in order to train, they go into like someone else's mind. It's really confusing, I feel like, as I'm explaining it, but not confusing. The way it's told in the story, it like unfolds very naturally. And I just love this idea of like the mind being the magic system and the mind being powerful and what you can do with your mind and strengthening your mind. I just drink every time I say mind. But I'm really intrigued at this point, and I'm just excited to see where this story goes. Like I actually am really happy. Like so far, I'm gonna jinx it. So far, this is feeling like a 5-star, which will really suck because it will not win Booktube Bestie then, but will be very, very good, and I'll be very happy if I get a 5-star read out of this, even if it's someone's worst book of the year. The cultures in the story and the detail and the thought that went into this is so rich. I'm having a really good time. I've made it to the 40% mark. I don't feel confused, which is really good. I don't really feel confused. I feel like I've been told everything I need to know, and the rest is kind of just like, I'm along for the ride to find out. The rest is just like, I'm along for the ride to find out. But I could see why maybe this doesn't work for you, because that's something I hated in the Lycanis trilogy, was being along for the ride just didn't work for me. I'm invested enough in this that I'm having a really good time, and I hope it continues. I'm sorry that this might not be a worst book, but I'm very happy at the same time. So I finished the Collarbound, and I'm so sorry, Yóhan. I'm so sorry, Library of a Viking. But I mean, I'm not sure why I'm saying sorry, because I know you're gonna be so happy that I still liked the story, because at the end of the day, we're all readers, and we all just want people to like books regardless of whether we disliked them or not. But I loved the Collarbound. I felt so enriched in this story. This story is so well developed. The details in it are immaculate. I was so invested in everything that happened, the world building, the magic system, the characters. I just wanted to know more and read more. So yes, although I agree with a lot of the critiques where this is a starting book, it feels like the first 300 pages to an 800-page book, because the plot does not really start start going until maybe those last 50 to 100 pages, I didn't care because I was just so emotionally invested in everything else that was happening that like I would read 400 more pages of just learning about our characters and the world and the magic. I didn't need that plot, which is something very bizarre for me. I saw the plot though. Like, I will say, although it doesn't like kick off, I did see the strings that were pulling us towards that plot. I just feel like this is a very, very slow burn story. And I mean, if that scares you, I get it, but I'm still gonna say please try it because I think it's beautifully done and I'm obsessed with it. This book is compared to The Poppy War in its Goodreads synopsis, and I am always scared of books that are compared to The Poppy War because so far I've not read one where I thought, yes, that comparison was justified. I think that this one is justified just because The Poppy War, in that trilogy, Rin is such a vivid character to me. Love her or hate her, she is herself. Like, you can picture a girl like her, you can picture her character so well. Someone just like abused and used by society that turns her into that character. And I feel the same way about everything in this story, that the characters, I understand why they're that way. The magic system is just so well developed. The way the Poppy War world and everything, the setting was just so well developed that I loved it. I will say the other comparison in Goodreads is to A Darker Shade of Magic, which I have not read. It says the lyrical writing of A Darker Shade of Magic. I'm not normally a lyrical kind of gal, but I really liked the writing style in this. It worked really well for me, and I now need to go try A Darker Shade of Magic, which I do own. So that one definitely has been bumped up my TBR after reading this. I gave this book 5 stars. I don't think I said anywhere. I gave it 5 stars. I finished this book, and although I did read the last page and go, that's it, I couldn't forget about the time I had reading this. I wanted to flip the page constantly. I didn't want to go to sleep. I just wanted to continue reading. It's a world where we have our character who is one of the Collarbound. He is kind of like enslaved. I don't know why I said kind of. He is enslaved by his master, and because he has this collar on him, the master can tell him what to do. But he somehow escapes and he has a broken collar, and he's now hiding out in the nest, which is on the side of a giant cliff, like the edge of the world. And the nest is where the mages of the world go to like train their new apprentices, because mages take on different territories in the world. There's also a border somewhere that people, it's like really dangerous to cross, similar to like the border in Shadow and Bone. And we have like warring politics between the mages and their apprentices. We have the apprentices learning the magic, which makes the magic very easy to digest and easy to learn because you're learning it with our characters. And then you also just have like the warring sides of a war and the politics that happen there. If you like a political fantasy, read this. If you like just like a unique magic system, because I found it very unique, even though it's all within our heads and our minds. And if you just want something like Hob that's slow burn, read this. Honestly, just everybody read this. I will not be surprised if I see this on my top books of this year, which is really good. So because of me loving it and giving it 5 stars, that is 2 points on Library of a Viking. So he's at +2 because he did give this book a 3 star. He did tell me it's more like a 2.5, but I'm not counting 0.5 stars. So we're gonna leave it at the 3 star. That is what he rated it on Goodreads, but that puts him at +2. And let's see what I have to say about Legends Lattes. Before we finish this video off, I just actually had to talk about the scoreboard because I made some mistakes in my last video, which was Booked and Busy's video. I didn't double check her scores, like what she rated the books. So she actually gave, I was assuming they were a 5 star and a 1 star, but they were actually a 4 star and a 2 star, which puts Erin at +2 instead of +4, and she sits right above Kaylee but just under Dom. So I wanted to have the updated scoreboard, and then we'll get into my final scoreboard for this video. Normally I would probably try to trick you, and I say trick you, I would move my camera, put on another sweater, but I'm honestly quite lazy, so we're staying right here, and we're going to talk about how Library of Viking did. He ended up with a +4, which puts him in the bottom half so far of the scoreboard above Lexi. I'm so sorry, Lexi. This episode was a win for me. Like, this was a great episode for me because I got a 5-star read, and my first 5-star read of the year. Also a 5-star in January, which, like, let's go. My goal is a 5-star every single month this year, because at least then I'll have 12 5-stars. Like, if I can aim for a 5-star every single month, that would be perfect. So I got my January 5-star. Any other 5 stars in January are just a bonus. And obviously that meant that I didn't love that I loved his worst favorite, but like, let's be honest, no one actually cares about that. I still trust Library of Viking's taste regardless of this, but it is just an interesting series to see, and I just love seeing what works for me and what doesn't work for other people. It's just really intriguing and helps me understand taste a little bit more. Yeah, I have nothing else really to say. Library of Viking needs no shout out from me, but I'm still gonna give it. If you don't follow Library of Viking, you should. He is more like quick paced than my stories. He is more quick paced than my channel. You're not gonna see like these long drawn out vlogs from him. Well, I never know. You could, but you see a lot of those shorter, more like thought-provoking and like tier lists and stuff like that. I do love Library of Viking's channel. He's always doing cool things with like authors and stuff, and you definitely should check it out. He has plenty of amazing fantasy recommendations for people who want it, and he also does read some indie and some self-pubbed, so definitely check him out if you don't already. Like always, he'll be linked in the description bar below, and I don't have much to say. I'm just thinking about the Collarbound currently and how I just can't wait for the sequel. I need some news on it soon. Anyways, thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you're feeling chatty down below, talk to me about something in this video. I don't know what. If you're not feeling chatty, you can leave me an animal emoji. And then if you want to connect with me on other platforms, my Bookstagram, my BookTwitter, my Goodreads, and my Patreon, all linked in the description bar below. Have yourselves an absolutely remarkable day, and I'll see you in the next episode of Booktube Bestie.